Just asking the question.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, no.
I don't care how it goes.
Yeah,
You got the bill
I want to
ready?
get a vote on that one.
Let's go. Please stand for prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our Lord and our God, we humbly bow before you. Thank you, Lord, for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We ask as we start this new year that every vote cast and every comment made be pleasing unto you. We do ask, Lord, that you be with our sick and our shut-in. You lay your healing hand upon them and comfort them in our time of need. These things I pray in Jesus' holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. First council meeting of the year, we always do our reorganization. We do it first before we get into formal business. First thing on our agenda is we're going to draw for seats. And our clerk is having technical difficulties.
Yeah, right on. Oops. I just had it working earlier.
Borrow that tape recorder from Hillary.
Time out.
It was just in here.
It'd be nice maybe if we get to the 20th century, not even the 21st century.
Wouldn't that be something? Hey,
Okay,
good.
okay.
Did you need to do roll first?
Roll call, yes, ma'am.
Flowers,
Here.
Kennel,
Yes.
Wright,
Here,
Phillips.
Here.
Avery.
Here.
Harp.
Here.
Okay. Now we're going to draw for seats, and we're going to start to my right and work our way to the left. Mr. Flowers would be designated as seat number 1. Mr. Harp's seat would be seat number 6.
Grab your. In case you have to move. Drama.
I understand.
How would David's leaving?
I'm moving over one.
Sam and I are trading.
Good.
Okay, it's a shuffle.
I got you, see.
We stay put.
5.
5.
one.
Back to my original seat.
Okay, I'm gonna make old guy here, Phillips. Hi, Kenny.
Make a water plant.
Don't take my stuff.
Might be a little tacky. Okay, everybody settled? Next, we're going to nominations for President Pro Tem. The nominations do not require a second. Okay, nominations are now open.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate James Hart
Mr. Hart,
for President Pro Tem.
Mr. Hart's name has been entered.
Councilman James Hart, with years of experience of being a councilman, being a finance man. I'm trying to find a better councilman to do the job
Okay.
when the mayor is not here.
Mr. Hart's name is been nominated. Mr. Hart, you accept the nomination?
I will.
Okay. Second call for nominations. Third call for nominations. Motion to close nominations would be in order.
So moved.
I'd like to close the nominations.
Mr. Wright, motion to close
Yep.
nominations.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Kennel. Questions or comments? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Phillips. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Harp.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Kennel.
Aye.
Okay, congratulations, Mr. Hart, President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Mr. Wright for his last couple of years of filling in for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Fine job.
Thank you, David.
Council rules. Anytime we change councils and through elections, we have an opportunity to review council rules. I know I've gone over them, and we have not changed council rules in several years, and I have no suggestions for anybody unless anybody has a comment. Yeah. I don't think that we've run across anything that we could not, between our council rules or charter, that we could not handle. Motion to adopt council rules as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hart, seconded by Wright to adopt council rules as presented. This would, the adoption date on these would be January 9th of 2017.
18.
Well, that'll be next.
Typo.
These are the ones that are being presented. Okay. Questions, comments? Bring it in, clerk, call the roll.
Phillips.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Abrig.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yeah.
Can't get my flow going.
Council rules are being adopted, and you
I
will
said,
get
you
a
guys
new
messed me up. I
cover.
can't get my flow going.
You will get a new cover page.
June. Right, June.
September, October.
Council committees. Some of you have given me some instructions or recommendations on where you would like to be or not be. I tried to fulfill them as best as I could, and I would present these recommendations to council for consideration. Finance, Chairman Mr. Hart, Mr. Wright, Mr. Abrig. Legislation, Mr. Abrig, Mr. Kennel, Ms. Phillips. Capital improvements, Ms. Phillips, Mr. Flowers, Mr. Hart. Annexation, business development, Mr. Kennel, Chair, Mrs. Phillips, and Mr. Wright. Service maintenance, Mr. Wright, Mr. Flowers, Mr. Kennel. Safety, Mr. Flowers, Mr. Hart, and Mr. Abrig. Now, for you, in the first name I presented would be the chairman of that committee. On my list of holdovers for finance, I have the garbage aggregation, fire department staffing, and the House Bill 49, that's the income tax, Mr. Hart. Legislation had nothing held over, capital improvements had nothing held over, annexation had nothing held over, service maintenance, Mr. Wright. Rental inspection, water contract, and electric aggregation was in that committee. And safety, K-9 unit, and the neighborhood watch program, Mr. Flowers. For boards and commissions, Park and Recreation, Mr. Flowers, as council representative. Planning and Zoning, Mr. Abrig. Civil Service, Ms. Phillips. Fireman Dependency Board, Mr. Kennel and Mr. Hart. Veterans Memorial, Mr. Wright. And the Retention Committee is set out by the Ohio Revised Code will be myself, the solicitor, the manager, and Mr. Bill Melzer is a citizen, representing the citizens. With that, I would be seeking council's advice and consent on those recommendations. It's your pleasure.
Mayor, make a motion, we adopt the committees as you presented.
Second.
Motion by Hurt, seconded by Flowers. Adopt the committees as presented. Any questions or comments?
Mayor, question on the Fireman Dependency Board. We don't do anything until Bill Williams gives you a call or sets up a meeting?
Right.
Okay.
We have two committees that have people, terms expiring. I'm glad to announce on the Civil Service Commission that Ms. Jones has graciously accepted a reappointment for a 3-year term. And on the Annexation and Zoning Committee, Mr. Hal Kelly has accepted a 5-year. I would be asking for your advice and consent on those 2 appointments, council. What's your pleasure?
To make a motion to approve those appointments.
Second.
Motion by Flowers, seconded by Phillips, to approve those appointments. Questions or comments? Clerk, call the roll.
Phillips.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Sebring.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yes.
Now, unless the clerk corrects me, I think that takes care of our organization.
Yes.
Yes? Yes. If I remember right, last year I screwed this up pretty bad.
Well, we did.
Well, who's representing the firemen?
Waterman and, same as last year. No, BJ and Bailey.
Yes,
Sorry.
Folks, they're continuing. Mr. Bailey, Brian Bailey,
Brian Bailey and Barry Schroeder.
Barry Schroeder. Okay.
Mayor of Finance, we also had the monthly water billing too. That was it left over in our committee.
Oh.
I think we were looking at that with the trash aggregation at the same time. We just need to set something up with the solicitor on that.
Right.
I didn't have that down, Mr. Wright.
Can you tell
Thank
me in service maintenance what was in there? I got 2 out of the 3, but rental.
Rental inspections, boy, water contract, and the electric aggregation.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, now we'll move back into our regular agenda. The reading and disposition of the minutes of the previous meeting. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion by Flowers, seconded by Phillips to dispense with the reading. The chair will call for any additions, corrections, and/or deletions. Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Phillips. Aye. Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Sebring.
Aye.
Kennel.
Motion carries. Minutes approved as presented. Citizens' comments. Any citizen wish to address council at this point? Okay. Reading and referring of communications and petitions. Any petitions to be presented to council tonight? The only communication that I had was from Charter Communications, and I think all of council got a copy of this. The Charter Communications must be the corporate name of Spectrum. And they're going to be removing the analog channels in the lineup, and I assume this letter went to all customers of theirs.
Yes. I got one.
You got, everybody got one? Ms. Joe says maybe not.
For a short time.
Okay. On the 23rd, they're going to be removing all the analog channels in the lineup, and they're going, and over 90% of the customers are already on digital, and boxes and they call them cable card devices are going to be provided by Spectrum at no charge according to the letter. So if you have a analog set, you may want to contact Spectrum. That was it for communications, unless you have anything, Mr. Manager? You have anything
No,
further?
sir.
Okay. Report of council committees and council representatives. Finance Committee, Mr. Wright or Mr. Harp?
We haven't had any meetings, Mayor, since our last council meeting. I believe Mr. Harp and I will be going Thursday back up to the park board. Hopefully all of their board members appear at that meeting so that we can go over their finances with them. And then Angel has asked me to stop up there on Wednesday and go over a little bit more in depth with her prior to the meeting, so I'll be doing that with her on Wednesday.
They're meeting Thursday?
Yeah, this will be the second Thursday, so,
First Thursday of the month?
No, plan is on
Finance. Okay, thank you. Anything else under finance?
No, sir.
You gonna pay the bills?
yeah, Mayor, I signed off on the bills tonight, so Mr. Hart will assume that duty going forward. I'll make a motion to pay bills dated from 12/23, 2017 through 1/6/2018, in the amount of $53,001.69 when funds become available.
Your second?
I'll second.
Motion by Wright, seconded by Hart, pay the bills when funds become available. Questions or comments?
I'm under questions and comments, Mayor. $29,401.73 of that was for our Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield. $8,894.97 went to Columbia Gas. And the rest of them were just generalized fees, permits, stuff that we have to pay to operate. Looks like some classes for fire department, fuel, and that type of stuff.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Clerk, call the roll.
Phillips.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Avery. Kennel.
Yes.
Motion carries, bills will be paid when funds become available. My right hand over here has passed me a note that says we need to excuse our solicitor.
I'll make a motion, we excuse the solicitor due to illness.
Second.
Motion by Wright, seconded by Flowers. Excuse the solicitor due to illness. Questions or comments? Hearing none, clerk, call the roll.
Phillips.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Kennel.
Yes.
Motion carries. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. Legislative, Mr. Avery, you don't have nothing in your committee at the present time?
Nothing.
You will have before the night's out.
Great.
It's okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
So I assume there's no, anybody from the legislative committee from last year? Mr. Kennel, Ms. Phillips? Okay. Capital improvements, Ms. Phillips?
No meeting.
Okay. Annexation, business and development, Mr. Kennel,
No meeting.
Ms. Phillips or Mr. Harp, have anything to carry over? Service maintenance, Mr. Wright,
Service maintenance hasn't met since our last council meeting.
very good. Safety was Mr. Harp, it's now Mr. Flowers. Either one of you two have anything?
No. No. We didn't have anything prior.
Very good. And I believe we're down to the parks, Ms. Phillips.
They have a meeting Thursday at 7 o'clock. No meeting since our last council meeting.
Planning and zoning, I know of no meeting since our last council meeting. And civil service, Mr. Flowers.
No meeting.
Okay. Veterans Memorial, Mr. Wright.
No meeting, sir.
Okay.
Mrs. Jones, excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. Jones, you are planning a meeting here to update things for the civil service?
Okay.
I needed to wait for an appointment.
In the retention committee, we will be meeting as soon as the manager tells me that our department heads have stuff turned in for shredding.
They're generating that. Parks just submitted their first list to Mabel, and the other department heads are gearing up, so it should be very soon.
Okay, very good. And we hope to have the solicitor back with us for that too. I believe that takes care of all council committees and council representatives. That brings us to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My office was in receipt of a letter from Safeguard Properties advising us that 127 West Georgia Avenue had been sold. and that their company is no longer has any financial interest in the property, and they requested the releasing of their housing bond. So we are in the process of doing that. If the, depending on how the new owners, if they leave it vacant or how that pans out, it may or may not go back in the bonding. It depends on whether they take occupancy or not. Ms. Roberta Johnson of 1045 South 21st Street, she has requested a waiver of the sewer tap fee for her residence. My office doesn't have the authority to consider this, since an adjustment or waiver of any form of fee by council has to be addressed by council. I did submit a copy of her request earlier. Two things. This can be considered by the appropriate committee. If council chooses not to look at it for a waiver, we could set her up on some sort of payment plan. So it's council's pleasure on whether you want to hear that or not.
Mr. Wright, service maintenance, we'll take that. And there's some,
Is that the one bill down there on Haycock there? Okay.
yes.
Just to keep council in the loop regarding some recent questions regarding the paving projects. The first question was regarding driveway aprons for the 12th Street project. As council knows, most of this was funded by a federal grant, and it was taken over, not only the engineering, but the actual construction oversight was done by ODOT. The plan did not call for driveway aprons, primarily because ODOT requires concrete aprons, and that would have significantly increased the cost, so they were not added. So I just wanted to, in case you get any questions about aprons, they weren't part of the funding project. Also, Malia's advertising for bid on the California Avenue project. We made a few adjustments, which our engineers noted regarding catch basin height. And this may increase the engineer's estimate by $4,000 to $5,000. However, that may not reflect what the actual cost is, depending on what the bids come in. So, thanks for catching that, Bill. Mabel Unkefer, the mayor, and I were discussing the pending tax processing changes via RETA, and recommended the need for a taxpayer assistance day presented by RETA staff. Mabel contacted RETA and confirmed our taxpayer assistance day will be Tuesday, March 6th from 12 noon to 6 p.m. That will be here at City Village Hall. Brian Thunberg will send a little bit more information our way concerning that day, and as this develops on the extra information, I'll make sure council gets that. So for the benefit of the press, I'd appreciate if you can get the first window out there for March 6th. We'll remind you again, I appreciate it. To make sure that we have the best response for snow and ice control, Director Sainer updated his call-out list with the service department. Apparently he does that frequently, so I appreciate your efforts, Bill, on recent snow and ice control. I'm happy to announce that Ms. Sally Getnitz is returned to work and her duties this week, and we're all glad to have her back. So. Just as an FYI for council on some new firefighting gear, Chief Anderson recently advised me that Firemen Springer, McDonald, Dickinson, Striefler, Harlan, and Goodrich received the first arrivals of the new equipment. Chief also advised me that all firefighters will be receiving new gear this year, and that's based on the chief's assessment of how that individual firefighter's gear, condition of the gear is. Director Sainer and I have completed interviews for the vacant position in the service department, and as soon as Bill makes a recommendation, we'll bring on a new hire. There was an update in my report from Chief Harris. I do applaud his efforts. There's been a substantial decrease in vehicle break-ins, and quite a bit of code enforcement action has been done. So the details are in the report. And I do appreciate the chief's effort and certainly his officers. That concludes my my formal report.
Any questions on the manager's report?
Thank you. Mayor just reminded me, I do want to extend my appreciation to Ms. Sandy Abrams. She has elected to serve again as the Sebring Parks and Recreation member of the board, and her effective date was December 29th. So, Ms. Abrams, very much appreciate you opting to serve on the Park Board again. And thank you, Mayor, for reminding me.
Okay, report of other village officials. Madam Clerk, do you have anything?
No, sir.
From the mayor's office. We have several contracts this year coming up. Mr. Flowers. We have the contract for Smith Township for radio dispatching. And we also have the radio dispatching contract for Craig Beach Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay.
Would you like those are the ordinances that are now in effect.
All right, thank you.
We also have a 1/2 mil levy coming up this year for the Parks Department. And I think we'll give this to Marvin. No.
Kenny.
Kenny.
That's right, he's Parks.
Congratulations.
Pile it on.
Three of them. I thought we was gonna give them more.
Pile it on.
Pile it on.
Yeah. We do that in 2 parts. I'll talk to you about it later.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to ask for a resolution for the county auditor to give us the income coming in, what he would anticipate it would generate, and then we have to do the resolution to put it on the ballot.
And that takes about 8 weeks in between time.
Okay, the clerk has been through this numerous times, if you need any help, you can. Okay, ordinances and resolutions. This ordinance comes from Finance Committee, and this was sponsored by Councilmember Wright. This is a resolution requesting the advanced distribution of property tax collections from the Mahoning County Auditor. Whereas the Mahoning County Auditor will begin real property tax collections for the tax year 2017, pay year 2018. And whereas the Mahoning County Auditor, excuse me, has advised the village of Sebring that it may request the advance payment of said collections by resolution for Ohio Revised Code 321.34. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of Sebring, Mahoning County, Ohio, Section 1, that the village of Sebring hereby requests the advance payment of real property tax collections due to the village as funds become available throughout the calendar year. Section 2, that the village manager hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the Office of the Mahoning County Auditors to secure the tax advance payment of real property tax collections. Section 3, that is found to determine that all formal actions of this council relating to the passage of this resolution or adopted in open meetings of this council, and that every deliberations of this council and any of its committees which resulted in such formal actions were made in compliance with all legal requirements, including those of Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code, all pursuant to Section 3.11 of the Charter of the Village of Sebring. Council, having heard the resolution read in its entirety, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I make a motion, we adopt the resolution as read.
Second.
Motion by Wright, seconded by Hart to adopt the resolution as read. Questions or comments?
If I may, just briefly, this ordinance allows the county to distribute those, instead of waiting for the entire year, they can do it on a quarterly basis. So it's certainly better for our coffers.
Yes. And we have to pass this annually, too.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Samantha? Sorry.
Phillips? Aye.
Wright?
Aye.
Hart? Flowers?
Aye.
Avery?
Aye.
Yes.
No, Kennel.
Resolution passes.
Mayor, I make a motion, we read resolution 02-2018 by title only.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, first, motion by Wright, seconded by Flowers. Questions or comments?
Under questions or comments, Mayor, this is also one of those yearly resolutions that we have to pass. So it's the same thing every year.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Phillips?
Aye.
Wright?
Aye.
Hart?
Aye.
Flowers?
Aye.
Avery?
Yes. Aye.
Kennel.
Resolution The motion passes. The resolution will be read by title only. This comes from Finance Committee, Councilmember Wright. A resolution authorizing and directing the municipal manager to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program. Having heard the resolution read by title only, council, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion, we adopt the resolution 02-2018 as read by title only.
Second.
Motion by Wright, seconded by Hart, to adopt resolution 02-2018 by title only. Read by title only. Questions, comments? We have to do this annually to participate in the state bidding process.
That does not include the salt. That's different.
Right.
That does not include the salt. That's
This
different.
is right. This does not include salt. This is purchasing other supplies. Hearing no other comments, clerk call a roll.
Phillips.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Count.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance or resolution is adopted as presented. Citizens' comments. We do 2 citizens' comments in each council meeting. This is the second citizen comment. Any citizen wish to address council? Moving on. Any other business to come before council? From the mayor's office, I would request a workshop. Would everybody be available next Monday night, the 15th? 6 o'clock? For a workshop? No action to be taken. We need to go over some issues with our website and get that thing back on the stick again. And anything else that we deem necessary for a workshop committee, meeting the council as a whole. Okay. So for the press, Sebring Council Workshop, 15th, 6 o'clock. No action to be taken.
Website, anything else? Anything else with website? Since the meeting?
I think basically, just to upgrade it a bit. I mean, we've done some work on it since its original inception, but it's kind of been stymied the last 18 months. And so it's time to take a look at it again.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would ask a question of the manager for that workshop. Could you have everybody informed on where we're at for the starting the new year and give us a baseline of what to expect for the whole year?
The topics.
On the whole, I mean, anything that comes out of the service department
Overall.
needed? Yeah. I know we did it
Sure.
in finance, but I think it'd be more things that would be in a workshop atmosphere that might help,
Now, we could put-
especially if Marvin's new.
Staff and I can put together some sort of needed topic agenda on items, probably a list of capital items we need to take a look at. There's some equipment we do need. I know Bill, I guess Bill left, but Bill does need a backhoe,
Right.
so we do need to take a look at that.
Those
So
are things that weren't in the budget per se.
there's about 24 items. Also, depending on what you want to do, is take a look at if they're, depending on how our capital budget looks, if there's something maybe we can tack on to the California Avenue project as an addendum to maybe do an additional street nearby and save mobilization costs. So there's a lot of things we can look at, sure.
Okay. I think it'd be good. That way we could have discussion as a whole.
Okay. Yeah, if there's any topics that, or items that council wants to specifically look at in the interim, just give me an email or put a note in my box, and I'll talk to staff and come up with some sort of format.
20
Very
pages
good.
already.
Okay, and the other thing, the chair would request a executive session on personnel of a public employee.
Any action?
No action to be taken.
So moved.
Second.
To include all of council.
all of council and the manager. Getting a motion on the floor.
I second.
Mr. Harp second. Mr. Wright made the motion. Mr. Harp seconded the motion. Question or comment? Clerk call the roll.
Phillips.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Harp.
Aye.
Flowers.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Kennel.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn to an executive session with no action be taken afterwards, folks. Thank you very much.
No. Hopefully you stay in touch.
You're
Sweating.
I'll take that.
And I'm gonna sit by you all year.
And I'm trying
You wanted to go to the
I think he's telling me he wants to switch.